Hey guys, and welcome to the second part of the Blast from the Past series, basically part 2 of 2, because I haven't been able to find more old maps, and as we go along and as I've recorded more, we actually got the new maps already, so that's actually quite sad because we miss a lot of old maps and I would have loved to showcase them all. But even with this, that reel hasn't changed that much, but there have been some subtle changes and I'll point them out to you because it is different. It's still very snowy. You have some buildings over here, the snowman is there, but as we go up to the middle you notice that there are less height differences, less little hills, there's no rocks, but also when you come up here the rocks are smaller, the buildings are somewhat different, and basically the cover is just different. Now in this case I'm playing tier 5, so I'm not particularly careful, mainly because of the fact, well, I'm not that experienced myself, and at this point the Leo was very OP, so I wasn't really worried about losing some health here, especially with the guy going like that and basically just murder him straight off, which is always a great start from for the beginning of the battle. But basically I know that tier 5 gameplay isn't all that interesting, especially when you know that there are much more OP vehicles and all of that around. But this was actually the only video that has a little bit that is at the ending that I'll show you when we get there. But of course, like usual, there are campers at the back there. They are not particularly bright. The way that this guy is driving, I mean, look at me derping around trying to find my gun depression. Then just basically shooting him, emptying my clip and getting another kill. Now I'm getting shot from the front there, which is not something I particularly enjoy. That guy is on fire, but he barely survives, so I'll just finish him off first, and then reserve the rest of my clip for this guy to do some extra damage. Again, enemy team not particularly bright, which is definitely always helpful when you want to do damage. It's also definitely helpful when you are driving a pretty OP tank like I am at this stage. And we are just going to go around, and eventually we'll end up where I basically want to point out the most where the map has changed, because you can no longer do that. So at this stage we're just driving around in my little fast tank, just wanting to get some basically kills, because there's only 3 tanks left. One of them just died, there's only 2 tanks left, and the other one is another Leo, which is always fun. I get shot in the bump, so I know that he's somewhere behind me and I can guess where he will go, which is where I'm gonna change him after. But first we're gonna go here and deal with this Leo while getting stuck against the building. But I'm not sure what he's doing, he's not being absolutely effective either, so it's all good. So with that gone, there's only one guy left and he can only be in so many places. We're driving against each other, not being particularly useful. I actually get stuck. This is what I mean basically with noobing. I do sniper mode effectively. This was not it. You might be wondering why, by the way, where there are no game sounds on this video, and that has everything to do with that the old way that I recorded was through like a side-loaded app called Xiao, and Xiao basically didn't record the game sounds, they recorded everything around you, which basically means that you would hear me talk, you would hear all background noises in the real world and everything. So at this stage I apparently forgot where the guy was, even though he shot me in the bum earlier, and I'm just going about all the camping spots to see where he's at. He's not here, so that is one thing. This is also different now, but only subtly than the new one, and that's the kind of stuff I find it quite funny, because this too, it is very similar, but it is slightly different. Just the positioning of rocks, the shape of the rocks. But the main difference on this map is where we're going now. Because where I'm going now, you can't go anymore. The red line has been changed, the landscape has been changed. And as we pick up and over, he is hiding in the corner. I pull back a little bit, he's shooting the ground, which makes him quite harmless. And I get a nice shot and clip into him. I hide because I don't want him to clip me further, even though I'm not potentially worried, because he could potentially shoot me a few more times before I murder him. So I pull back. Now I'm relatively low health, but as my teammate comes in, actually bounces him a couple of times, I decide to go in again and just finish him off. The Leo was a very, very evil tank at the time, and actually regret some of the changes this map. This little hiding spot was actually quite fun. At the same time, once you knew where it was, you always knew where to look, so that made it quite useless as well. But it did get me a nice little ace here, some extra damage and all of that, so onwards to the next old map. And the next old map is actually 2 games on the same old map but different sites. We are going to go to Winter Malinovka. Now, Winter Malinovka has changed a lot. It's like night and day difference. The only thing that is still the same is that you still have a mill in the corner and you still have a high side and a low side. But everything in between is completely different and it's quite funny. So we start by going off to the mill, which was like the only site that you really wanted to go unless you wanted to flank, but that had everything to do with low tier and top tier and which kind of tank you were driving at the time. So for now we are going off towards the mill. I'm driving the clown tank, the T-34 Independence, and it hadn't been in the game that long. I quite enjoyed it. Mainly because I already had the T-34, I just wanted it because of the camo. We didn't have camos at the time, so this was like very fancy to have a tank with a flashy camo and everything. And that was the main reason that I wanted this tank and that I got it, even though I already had the T-34. But that aside, you have the same issue, by the way, with the Jagdtiger 8.8. You have 2 versions of it in the game, one with camo and one without. And basically the game is quite slow. The map appeared a lot bigger then than it does now, and everyone is going nicely to the mill as instructed. The path here is pretty protected, but you still have to be careful, and true to form, especially back then, I entered sniper mode at this time because we might actually see an enemy. So I want them to push, I don't want them to hold, because I want to take and claim the corner, because that was always the thing to do on this map. And with my lovely T-34, I'm just bullying my way into the front line because, well, that's what I do, and I have a gun with gun depression, so I can potentially work it really well. So I have to use this position quite well. I have to be careful not to get murdered. I do get shot there, but every time they pick up and over to try and damage me, they're either not paying attention to me or my team can damage them, so I have to be careful. But the corner works quite differently as well, because this is very much not the same. The position around the mill is not the same. There are basically there's a cliff where you can fall off that is like right on the other side of the mill, and everything. It was very, very different. But I actually preferred this version to the version that we have now, because the version that we have now somehow seems, well, a bit dull in a way. It still works, but it is one of the more predictable maps, and it's just not as enjoyable as, well, this version of it, in my opinion. Though I suppose that's not entirely true either, because I'm saying that this one is less predictable, but at the same time, people pretty much always went to the corner like this, murdered the other team like this, and it's basically about who bounces the most, who has the most bouncy tanks, and who focuses fires best. So in a way, yes, I get that Winter Malinovka had to be changed. But I like the more extreme differences more. And now it is 6 versus 3. And one of them is gone all the way around to get behind us. And at this point, I see the guy in front of us. I want to be a little bit careful, but at the same time, I'm not all that careful because I have plenty of health. So I only track him, and he does damage to me. And I decide to make this rock my friend. This guy is special. I can't put it any other way. He's just camping like that. I need to be careful with the E75, but he's actually shooting my head now and bouncing on that. This guy still hasn't gone down. Now he's only moving. I'm using the rock to be my friend. There's only 2 guys left, so it's that clueless guy in the E75 behind me. So when he goes like that, I can get another shot in, and then I turn around to see if I can focus on the E75 again. Team still hasn't killed him. This guy is still doing God knows what, and I decide to see if I can get the gun depression that this tank is famous for, and get that to work and get this shot in. Even though the E75 then shoots me and hurts me, I kill off a guy. And that's another thing I found funny about these old matches, because I'm noobing so much. I'm not being careful. I'm not really mining my HP, and I'm not really doing anything proper. I'm just sort of going YOLO and getting away with it. And that on its own was funny, but this side of the map is so different now than it was then. just the whole alleyway of fire and everything. This guy now basically letting me shoot him like that. It shouldn't be possible, but it is. I have teammates with me. He still manages to hurt me. But as he does so, I decide to just... No, I decide not to go after him. At the same time, my teammate is with me. They're pushing on where I am not. And at the same time, I have 3 kills. The enemy... Well, my teammate has 3 kills as well. And I kind of just want to get that last kill because I'm having a pretty sweet game. And it's either me getting the top gun or that guy getting the top gun. So he's playing it a lot more careful than I am. Even though I'm not looking too good on health. And I'm just gonna barge down trees, show that I'm here exactly. And as he turns, I shoot, I kill him, and I get the top gun. And you can just see this whole area is also so very different, but similar. It is recognizable. You know that this is Winter Malinovka. You know that the old map looks similar to the new map, but it's just very different. There's more buildings in the new map. There's more basically height differences. The alleyways towards the corner are very different now than they were then. And we're gonna show you one more game on Winter Malinovka because of course Winter Malinovka had a very different side as well. And even though not all of it takes place there, there is a part of this game that actually does take place there in a very ridiculous sort of way that I shouldn't have been able to get away with. So I'm going to show you that. But that's not the only blast from the past that is in this game. Of course, I am driving the E5, which is a rarity now, but is still my most played tank in the game. And it still has the cupola. The cupola is mainly why I love the E5 as much as I did, because it was so troll. It worked really with my playstyle, and it was something that I wish that they had never removed it, because if you knew how to play it, the E5 would be an absolute blast to play. And now it is very different. It is more of a standard heavy, and yeah, but it's kind of the same with the map in a way. The maps back then were more extreme in their height and their build and just the positioning. I mean, you already saw some of the differences before. I'm now looking behind me to see where the team is going, which is not all that promising, to be fair, with the enemy teams on the other side and everything. But you do see now the hill, you see the other side of the mill. It is a very different map then as it is now. That guy is actually making me want to shoot him very badly, and I do that, which is very helpful. It's my first damage shot of the game. But this is one of those positions that it worked quite well, and basically that's also something that I missed. There's less lines of fire across the map from less funny positions, to be fair. So right now we are still at the corner, but it's 2 of us. Eggy is one of the most OP players. He was then already. He definitely is now. He's only gotten better over time. And basically now we have an E100 and IS-8 here, so we focus basically on both. There's a tank behind there as well. This is still the point where Pramo did cost more, but it didn't do any less damage. So it was very easy to just gold your way through it, and as long as you hit your cupola in a way, you didn't even need to really like hide it. You didn't need to switch back to normal ammo either, because you didn't really need to, because you could just do the same damage. And I didn't care if it cost me a little bit more, because that was not what it's all about. Now I'm getting shot from the other side as well, but with this shot this guy is gone, and we basically have 5 enemies left to find. And now we're slowly getting to the point of the part of the map where we haven't seen before, because this is basically the open area near the red spawn. This is some of the things that have been very different. These hills on this side on our left that are very different now compared to what they were then. You still have a sort of alleyway here, but this is basically, I'm like, you're going there, okay, then I'm going here. You don't hear that actually because I muted the video because of all the other sounds and everything. And I'm just like, yeah, let's just casually go up on top of the mountain and see what we can find. Because that is basically what you do in a heavy tank, isn't it? But it does give a very nice view of what Winter Malinovka used to look like. And again, this is something, it is similar, but it is very different. There's no ramp in the middle to go back up. You either have to go on this side or the other side. There is no in between. And that is something that I think it would be more interesting if Winter Malinovka still had that. At the same time, it would be a lot more easy to get trap places. So now Eggy and I are turning back because we have a feeling that people are no longer down there, especially now that he's actually spotted someone that is coming at us. And we start shooting that guy. I pull back a little bit. I actually get Eggy stuck a little bit. E50 rams him, but he's not going to live much longer, and there he goes. So now I am commentating a little bit on the gameplay, but that's basically because everything is old about this game. The gameplay, my old skill level, it's all old, it's all funny. Because it's so different, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, that's not how it should be. I mean, look at that. And again, it's +2, -2 matchmaking. Now, we know where 2 of the last guys are. The Leo is there, the 140 is there. 140 used to be one of the most OP vehicles there. Basically, first few tournaments, it was sort of spammed a lot. And it has changed since then. That's also one of the things that has changed. Everything has changed. And I sort of miss it. It's different. I don't mind it. This is the part of the game where I miss the old maps. I would love to see them again, mainly because in a way they were a lot more quirky than the maps we have now. And a lot less predictable and more broad, more certain lines of fire and everything. I'm actually so noobing trying to shoot that 140 and not being able to. So now the Leo is heading our way, and I just get the shot in. He kills one of my teammates. Eggy still very much alive. This guy is almost dead, and Eggy kills him off. And now there's only one guy left and we know where he is. And at this point I don't even care if he shoots me again, which is what he tries to do. And I actually look at him and I try to shoot him, and I shoot the mountain instead. But we know where he is. He just keeps being there. But again, this alleyway, it is so different. And yes, I just really hope that Wargaming will rotate the old maps, that we will actually just get different maps. I'm not shooting this guy because I want Eggy to get a Radley water, which he does. So that makes it more fair and lets him have another kill, because he's been way more OP than I have. So that's basically my reminiscing about all the old maps. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely found it funny to just see all the old maps again, and also the old tanks, because they were so different then as well. So that's it for now. I'm calling it a night. I think this has been enough for now, and I'll be seeing you guys the next time again. Bye bye!